Hi, this is Rachelle with Scrapcraftastic, and I decided to record this at the spur of the moment. This is Saturday, and I decided to do a little crafting, and I wanted to make a folio. The folio would hold ephemera, sticker flakes, die cuts, washi stickers, things like that. I wanted to hold pages approximately 5 by 7, so I'm kind of working out how I want to do it. These two pieces that I have here measure 6.5 by 11, and I've scored at 1 inch, and then towards the bottom I've scored at 7.5 inches to make a pocket. I'll leave all the measurements and information in the description box below. So here I just cut out the 1 inch piece that was next to what will be the pocket. So again, I'm working this out as I go. I decided not to time lapse most of this so that you can see what I'm doing in real time. And I also cut slightly on the outside of the score line so that my pocket does not rub up against where I'm going to have the spine. So this is the main part of this folio, and I'm using the Kraft cardstock because it seems a little heavier than the regular cardstock, and I didn't want to use a really heavy cardstock because I will be covering this. So I decided I wanted more flaps on my folio. So here I am scoring at 6.5 inches on an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock. Here I'm scoring at 1 inch on the left, then at 1.5 inches. So the 1 inch piece will connect to the main folio, and then the 1/2 inch section will be spine area. Then I'm turning it around and I'm going to score at 7.5 inches on this piece as well, because my folio flaps will also have pockets. So here I'm cutting out the 1.5 inch section that was scored, because that will be the tab that attaches to the main folio as well as the spine for the fold out or the flaps. And I'm doing the same thing on the other side because I'm not sure what I'm doing with this extra piece on the right hand side, but I do need to remove that lower right hand corner so that I will have a pocket. So this flap on the side here, I'm folding it to the back, trying to figure out if I can save it or do I need to cut it off. So I'm kind of laying everything out how it will function, going ahead and folding the piece where it will attach to the main folio, as well as the spine area for the flap, and just trying to determine what I'm going to do with that extra piece there. So I'm deciding that, yes, that has to go. I'm going to go ahead and put together the main folio. So I'm using, I think this was 1/2 inch double-sided tape. So I'm using that on the 1 inch spine. And here I'm also going to add a little liquid glue to give me time to line things up just right. This is Barely Arts glue. So I'm going to take my other piece and line them up right on the outside of the score. I don't want to go over that score line when I lay down this piece. And again, the wet glue gives me time to adjust things, make sure that everything is lined up before it is sealed permanently. I'm just taking a paper towel, pressing that down and picking up any excess. And there was a little slither that was hanging over, so I just trimmed that off. So this is the main folio or the base of the folio, and once it's put together, it's going to look something like this. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and look at adding the flaps on either side. Again, I'm experimenting with this. I'm making this as I go. So I'm adding the double-sided tape to attach this flap, which is the right-hand side. I'm attaching this flap to the main folio or the base. And I use 1-inch flaps here just to make sure that it is securely attached to the main folio. So we have a 1-inch flap and a 1/2-inch spine area on the outside flaps. Again, all the measurements will be in the description box below. So on these flaps that I'm adding, I am going to miter the tapped area, the 1-inch area that I'm going to attach to the base. Just a very small miter. And here I'm just going to peel up the backing on the double-sided tape. And add the glue. And I'm going to do this folio in sections so that if you want to follow along, you'll have time to actually do the project and keep up or catch up with me as I go. I'm a slow crafter, so I didn't want to try and do the whole thing at one time or it would never get done. So I'm going to try and do everything in sections. So I've added it to the main base or the main folio, and I'm just rubbing over it with paper towel, making sure to get all the excess glue off, checking how everything is folding, and I still have that piece on the end that I'm not sure what I'm going to do with. I pretty much decided to chop it off, but I had not done it yet. So here we go. We're chopping it off because I just I think we have enough going on here. I could have used it to make a fold out, another fold out piece or something like that, but I think this is, we got enough going on here. It's busy enough. So this is our outside flap on the right, and now I'm just checking to make sure everything folds and lines up as it should. And I'm going to trim this piece of cardstock down to 6.5 by 11 to make the flap on the left. And I'm going to use a scoreboard to go ahead and score. And I'm scoring at 1 inch and 1.5 inches. But then I realized that this piece needs to be the reverse of the other flap. So I'm going to flip it over and just reinforce the score. So actually where you should be scoring at is 5 inches and 5.5 inches, because the right hand side of the cardstock is what's going to attach to the main folio base. So I'm just showing you 5 and 5.5, then you turn and score at 7.5. So I hope you like the way that I'm doing this, trying to break things up into steps. I hope that makes it easier. And here I'm trimming off that right-hand corner to create my flap, and I also don't need that piece on the spine and the tab that's going to attach to the main folio. So this it should look like this. And then I'm going to go ahead and fold my score lines. And just checking to make sure everything is going to line up. There's a lot of checking that goes on, especially if I'm not following another tutorial, if I'm just making this up as I go or making things up as I go. I test and test and retest. And even when I do, I still see things that I should probably do different. So, but here I'm just going ahead and adding the double-sided tape to the 1-inch section. That 1-inch section is going to attach to the base, the main folio. I'm adding some wet glue again to give me time to position and line up where this is going to attach to the base. And I'm using Barely Arts glue. All the supplies that I use will be linked in the description box below. You can also find most everything that I used in my Amazon shop, which is also linked in the description box below. I forgot to miter my edges before I put the wet glue on, so I'm doing that here. And I am going to go ahead and line this up as best as I can and attach it to the main folio base. And I'm finding that it's going to be easier to flip things over and actually place the base on top of that flap. Again, staying clear of the score line, just getting right next to the score line, but not going over. I'm checking to make sure that everything is lined up before I press down with paper towel, get up any excess glue. Checking on the inside. So basically we have 4 sections, each with a flap at the bottom that will be a pocket. Now what I have to decide is, do I want to glue those pockets directly to the flap or the base, or do I want to make a joining piece for the pockets? I'm thinking I will do it both ways, but I will show you how I do that in the next video because that will have to be done as I cover each panel. But this is what it looks like. This is the base. If you decide to craft along with me or make this folio with me, let me know in the comments. And if you post on Instagram, tag me at Scrapcraftastic in the photo, and I will definitely take a look. And usually, if you tag me, I will share whatever you're doing in my stories. I hope you enjoyed this video, found it helpful. I hope you decide to craft along with me. Please give me a thumbs up. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that little gray bell so that you'll receive notification each time I upload a new video. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.